We've all seen the shows and the movies about time travel. We're all familiar with the various paradoxes like the grandfather paradox and the bootstrap paradox, where future events influence the past, which in turn cause the events of the future. Granted, if you delve deep into the math and physics of time travel, you could get lost for a long time. But in general, I think most of the prominent ideas and paradoxes surrounding time travel have already pretty much been explored in mainstream entertainment. There's one, though, that kind of bugs me, which almost nobody ever talks about, and it has to do with probabilities. This is going to be an extremely short podcast episode, after which I'll be returning to the more long-form stuff. This idea is simply a small thought I had that I just kind of want to get out of my head. So we know that all things in the universe, based on our current tools and theorems, are probabilistic. What does that mean? It just means that the exact behavior of things can't be predicted with 100% precision. We can only determine the probabilities of things. If you observe the movement of an electron or an atom, there's no theory which can predict exactly where that electron or atom will land with 100% certainty. We only have theories which can predict the likelihood of certain movements and occurrences. Now, sometimes the probabilities of things can be extremely high. For example, there might be a 99.9999% probability that the sun will come out tomorrow, but there's no guarantee, and that's the point. Because of the probabilistic nature of all movements and behaviors, there's always that extremely tiny chance that the sun will not come out tomorrow. Even when you control for every factor you can, there's still no way to determine exactly where particles will move, where photons will land, when an electron will change state, which neurons in your brain will activate, when they'll activate, etc. And because of this, everything we can observe in the natural world is also probabilistic. When you choose to pick up your phone, the things you're going to think about after watching this video, what your friend chooses to eat in the next hour, the behavior of fuel moving through a rocket ship. These things are all probabilistic. Now, it's possible that in the future we will come up with better theorems regarding motion behavior and particle physics, which can predict behaviors with 100% accuracy. But at the moment, we don't have that. So what does this have to do with time travel? Well, if you look at the major theories surrounding time travel, almost all of them make the assumption that the past is not probabilistic. Because the past happened, and because we can remember it or record it, we assume that the past is a set-in-stone thing. If you turn back time 24 hours, everyone assumes that things would be exactly how you remember them yesterday. Your keys would be in the same spot. Your fridge would have the same amount of food. You'd have the same amount of money. In other words, we assume time is probabilistic going forward, but deterministic going backwards. But what if that's not true? If we know that all behavior in the universe is probabilistic going forward, why couldn't the same thing be true in reverse? Yes, it's true that the past already happened, and we also assume that the present is a direct result of what happened in the past. But the thing is, our present is not something that has only one possible cause. If there's a piece of lint in the middle of your floor right now, that lint could have come from many different directions, taken many different paths, and still landed in the same spot. The same is true for all particles and all things in the universe. There are many things that could have happened to land us exactly where we are now. Maybe, if you reversed time, it's possible that you'd get a different version of the past, a different cause for the present conditions. In other words, it's possible that motion and time are probabilistic both forward and backward. If this is the case, it could have a few implications. For one, any time travel, either forward or backward, would most likely result in a different version of the universe than the one we're currently in. For example, if you were to reverse time 24 hours, you might find that things are not the same as you remember. Maybe your keys would not be in the same spot. Maybe you would not have the same amount of food in the fridge. Maybe you'd find that you cannot predict the precise movements of particles going backward through time. What this would mean is that if you used time travel even once, you'd probably never be able to return to the current version of the universe we live in. Ever. If you travel backwards, you'd be traveling to a past you're not familiar with, to a universe where things happened that you don't remember happening. And then, if you try to travel back to the present, you'd be traveling to a present you're unfamiliar with. Why? Because in this world, nothing is deterministic. Every use of time travel gives you a random assortment of causes and effects, according to whatever's probable. Or, if we take this idea to the extreme, it's possible that if you reverse time far enough, all life on the planet could be distorted, disintegrated, and ultimately destroyed. If particle movements are probabilistic in reverse, then the probability of particle movements returning life to a livable state might diminish the further back in time you go. In fact, if backwards physics is probabilistic, it might only take a few seconds of backwards time travel for all life to be disintegrated and destroyed. Out of all the atoms and electrons and proteins that make up your body, it's far, far more probable for those components to be organized in a way that's completely random, rather than in a way that keeps you alive. If you reversed time, it just might be the case that all the proteins and atoms and structures of your body start flying apart in unpredictable ways the further back in time you go, simply because that's more probable. The point is, when you mess with time, you're not just messing with the fabric of the social world, you're messing with the most fundamental laws of physics, and you have no idea how things will change when you mess with those laws. Just a simple thought. I could be wrong, of course. I will say that Arcane Season 2 kind of explored this idea. There's a machine in the show that one of the characters builds that only allows you to go back in time a few seconds, which is sort of analogous to what I'm talking about. However, there are other points in the show where they just allow characters to travel to the distant past, so their notion of time travel isn't really that consistent. Also, something I've always thought is funny is that people assume your memories stay intact when you time travel. But why would that be the case? Your memories are formed by neuronal connections and interactions. If you reversed time, wouldn't you be reversing those connections? Why would you even remember being in the future? Anyway, that's it for the episode. Just some dumb ideas. Next time I'll be doing something more substantive. I don't know if it will be a full-on video, but I do know I'm going to take my sweet time writing the next episode. I'm a bit tired out from doing the anniversary version of my book, which is out now by the way. Links will be in the description. Give this vid a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you feel so inclined, and I'll talk to you in the next one.